What is your assessment of the continent of Africa? Some people this morning felt that there are very real opportunities now finally emerging there.
A very good question. Africa is the last continent that has not been developed, frankly speaking. And with the economic crisis that took place last 4 or 5 years, Africa has been downgraded in the investment arenas, the mentality, the mind, to number 5, 6, or 7. So this raised an opportunity for us, really. We are heavily invested in Africa, and we have a strategy to tackle Africa from many angles. Angle number 1, hotels. We have many hotels in North Africa, which is the Arabic-speaking nations, and Sub-Saharan Africa. We tackle it also through direct investments through a fund that we have. It's already invested in more than 20 countries. We tackle it all through philanthropy and charity also. We have many projects over there, like, for example, in West Africa, we have an alliance with the Carter Center to eradicate certain diseases over there. Plus, we give direct support to certain governments to support the people. So really, it's a multifaceted operation to tackle the African continent in its entirety. So yes, a lot of opportunities in Africa. Yet many people think that Africa is worrying. Sure, there are many countries where they are scary, like Zimbabwe, for example. No one wants to be there. But there are many countries that are rule of law, freedom of speech, freedom of press, transfer of power. You have succession rules, whereby a ruler can't run for election more than twice. You have good role models like South Africa, obviously, Ghana, Senegal, Eritrea, Ethiopia. There are good role models in Africa that really have to be differentiated from those countries who are still not really functioning well, such as Zimbabwe. But the majority really are really being incorporated and being assimilated in the worldwide system, which is really freedom of speech, freedom of press, etc.
Are there other parts of the world that excite you right now? Take Europe. Europe is depressed. Is that an opportunity, or would you still be cautious?
Well, as I told you, we have two-tier investments. We have 3 main anchor investments outside Saudi Arabia, which is really in media. We have New Scope investment that continuously expands in Europe and all over the 5 continents. We have our Citigroup, which really is available in 100 countries and has clients more than 140 countries and has 200 million clients. So this covers also this covers the banking. The other one covers the media. And we also have our hotel division, which is very important. It consists of the Four Seasons brand that we are in partnership with Mr. Bill Gates. We also have the other brand that has Fairmont Travels and the Swiss Hotel that covers also the 5 continents. And we also, who are the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund, are our partners. We also are with Movenpick, that is a very solid 4-star entity that has also its exposure in all the 5 continents. So all these, we expand to them indirectly in a way. Yet we help them sometimes in some projects. And they obviously cover Europe. But sometimes we go a direct investment through our company, like Twitter, or like the tower that we'll be talking about shortly from now.
In terms of technology, investing in Apple when people thought Apple was going to go to the corporate graveyard, how did that come about? How did you get to know Bill Gates and learn to be his friend? Not easy.
You mean Steve Jobs, I think, correct?
Steve Jobs,
yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, too.
Bill Gates is a friend of someone else, but we'll talk about that later. He's not very friendly to Apple, obviously. No, really, I always believed in Apple, frankly speaking, and I believed in Steve. I met Steve immediately when he was rehired into Apple. And he was motivated, and he was telling me, I was meeting him alone, and I was very close to him, and I used to meet him once every year. And he said, Waleed, I want to go with you and be in the consumer industry, and I don't want to be on technology. He was thinking, I'll tell you a secret. He was thinking of taking over Sony one time. No one knows about that. But he was thinking of taking over Sony one time, and he said, what are the viabilities of that? I say, I told him, I believe you can create another Sony in Apple, frankly speaking. But that wasn't, so he had this vision about getting into the consumer industry long time before we had the iPod, iPhone, iPad, etc. So he's a very visionary man. I believed in him, frankly speaking. And we had a common friend, Larry Ellison, who is the chairman of Oracle. We were both very close to Steve at that time. So he's done a tremendous job, obviously, in all the products that became to dominate now almost the tech and telecom industry.
You still sticking with Apple?
Well, sure. I mean, we have a certain portfolio that covers Apple for sure.
So you're going to stick with it, even with the new management?
Well, sure. I mean, look, I think for the next year or two or so, we're still going to be living with the legacy of the products that that came under the leadership of Steve Jobs. I think the Cook's mind and the new leadership will come after they introduce new products. And I believe what they're doing so far right now is all the legacy of Steve Jobs. Even the new mini tablet that will come imminently right now, this really is a subtitle of the tablet that was really the creation of Steve Jobs. But the real experiment and the real exam and the real test will come from Mr. Cook when he delivers, hopefully, in the next cycle of products that inevitably will have to come in this very fast-changing industry.
How did you become involved with Twitter?
Good. We always wanted to be involved in social media. And we followed many of those companies, and we followed Twitter specifically, and many other companies. No need for me to get other names, but we didn't believe in the other names, and I think we were vindicated because many of them, after going IPO, they went really south in their value. We monitored Twitter. They had a very good model, but clearly we waited until they went out of this venture capital situation, because we don't get involved in venture capital, it's too risky for us, which means obviously we miss the chance of getting a better value. But for the sake of getting stability and getting good value for our shareholder, we had to sacrifice some of the value by not getting early. And when we believed and felt that they really went out of being venture capital and becoming mature, that's when we had discussion with them, and we tried to enter, and they welcomed us, obviously. And we had a good stake there that is confidential. I cannot say the percentage, but for sure the value went up dramatically since we met them and since we went to. And you can believe the objective of Twitter is to reach 500 million in the next 12 to 24 months, to have 500 million users. And guess, I'll give you a number now that really is mind-boggling. They would like to reach a target of 2.5 billion tweets a day. And this is within reach, I believe.
What other sectors excite you? You mentioned social media. What other sectors excite you?
Well, you know, we are very diversified, and we are a mature company. So really, we always have to keep adding value to what we do. For example, News Corp, we are their partner in United States. We own a good stake after the Murdoch family. So really, we propose to them that they come and invest in our company in the Middle East. So that's a way, a transfer of technology from the United States and the West to the Middle East. And now they are owners of 19.8% of Rotana, which is really the biggest media and entertainment entity that covers the Middle East, from the Gulf to the ocean, the Arab Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean. So that's one area where we're cooperating with News Corp. Also, the Four Seasons brands, for example. 10 years ago, they had not a single hotel in the region. We were able to invest with them directly or indirectly, or get them linked with certain investors and developers in our region. So now they cover our region with 11 hotels. Same thing with Fairmont, Raffles. So you see now, Fairmont and Raffles is available right now in Dubai here. Bombay, same thing. So really, we expand with those. Citibank also, as you know, they're continuously expanding. So really, we are a mature company, and we assist the companies invested in, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly.
You just mentioned Citigroup. You first invested in it in the early 1990s when it was flat on its back. You came up to the plate again in 2008. How do you assess the company today? And why didn't they make you CEO?
No. I'll tell you another secret. Actually, during the era of John Reed, when I first invested in 1991, actually during the midst of the first Gulf War, they did propose that I become member of the board, but I declined. Because our strategy never to get involved in the board of directors, and never get involved in operation in any company outside Saudi Arabia, and even Saudi Arabia. We're very much of a holding company. Yes, our history with Citigroup goes for more than 21 years ago. And yes, Citigroup did face major crises, as we all know. But I believe through Vikram's leadership, and I'll talk more about his departure soon, is that he did a pretty good job in stabilizing the company for the past 5 years, really. And the company, as you've seen, the latest results have beaten the analyst reports, and they divided the company in two parts: the Citigroup, the holding, the core, and the holding, which is are continuously trying to sell. This company, frankly speaking, could really have potentially a $20 billion of income every year, with around 1.8 to $2 trillion of assets. You know, it's with the economic crisis, many of the companies like HSBC, Barclays, Standard Chartered shrank, and be going back to the roots. Citigroup never blinked on that, and they are now present in 100 countries, and they have clients from 140 countries. So it's the only real global bank in the world right now, and really the potential is there. As you know, Vikram had to leave, so now there's new leadership over there, and clearly we have to see the results of the new leadership, the results of what they're going to do, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years.
You think essentially they'll continue to do what has been done, but perhaps have better relations with entities like the Fed?
The existing chairman and the new incoming CEO went public in a conference call, and I was on that call, and they said that the policy will continue as it is for sure. I think the weakness of Citigroup under Vikram was related to his relationship with the regulators, Federal Reserve, FDIC, etc., and the Treasury. Although his relation with the Geithner and Treasury was somehow not bad, it was good. But you cannot function in the United States, especially in these days, unless your relation is good, excellent, and good with all members of the regulators, such as FDIC, Treasury Department, and the Federal Bank.
Disney, you were a partner with Euro Disney, expanding your efforts with Disney?
Yes, we were investor with Disney in America since a long time, and we partnered with them in the Disneyland Paris since more than a decade. And that company was facing some difficulties because of heavy debt. But lately, a big move took place whereby Disney, after Disneyland in America became so solid and on solid ground, they entered and bought the debt part with a substantially lower interest rate, which will mean that Disneyland Paris will have a higher margin right now in their operation, and they will break even, make more profit. So that was a very smart move from Disney to help the shareholders, also help themselves, frankly speaking.
And we mentioned earlier your 2 big projects in Saudi Arabia, massive projects. Can you quickly give us an overview of those?
Yeah.